Hey everyone, today we're in Norman, Oklahoma at the Rock Creek Cemetery, and a viewer suggested this cemetery as a place to visit, and I can't remember who it was, so if you're the one, please leave a comment below. It looks like it could be an interesting cemetery. It's at a very busy intersection on Rock Creek Road and 12th Avenue, which turns into Sooner Road if you're in Oklahoma City. This is exactly 1 mile away from the other cemetery that I've already done 2 videos on, and I had no idea this cemetery was here. So let's take a walk around and see what we can find. So I've been by this location several times and never knew that there was a cemetery here. It's always up on this little hill and nicely mowed. Had no idea there was a cemetery here, and that's because all the markers appear to be flat lying. And as soon as you park, there's just kind of a couple car spots on broken cement and dirt. There's this little bench with a, sad looking little angel to me. It's kind of eroded away. It's an old bench from somewhere though. And I can immediately see some flat lying markers right here. And I don't know, maybe somebody has dumped their pumpkins, but there's pumpkins here. But yeah, there's a bunch of markers, and they appear to be newer. If you look at this, 1933, that is definitely not a marker from 1933. So at one point, somebody's replaced these, and they're all pretty uniform looking. This could also be something that can use some more edging, because as I go down, you can certainly see some of the markers are covered up. So far, 1933, and like I said, everything is all uniform. It's there's no variation in the markers so far. Here we have a 1934, but for the most part, they're 30s, 33, 34. Here you can see where the grass is trying to swallow that 1934 one up. So the story is, from one of the viewers, is that this has a lot of the people that are from the Griffin Memorial Hospital. It's the one that was the Oklahoma State Hospital that housed what they called at that time insane. And that's what a lot of these are. I don't know if it's all of them, but it makes you think that just because of the uniformity in the markers. See this one, you can't even see the dates here. Last name of Reese, 1935. So they are kind of going in a order of date of death, it looks like. 36, Sidney Foster, DOD. It just says date of death, 1938. Yeah, so it's going in order. Well, I say that. Here's a 1936, last name Ball. There's quite a few in here. I'm not going to read every single name because there's several rows. I see flowers over there. So we'll just kind of walk down through here and see. I would definitely like to come through here with an edger and make these a little bit more noticeable. It's clear that somebody is mowing this, and since it's a flat lying marker like this, it'd be really easy to take care of this with just a riding lawnmower. What would be my guess of what they use, but it could use a little more help to bring some of these people out. 1941, George Maney, 1875 to 1941. It's very interesting to see all these, the exact same style of marker. So Miss D. Henry McBride, 1876 to 1942. But overall, it is getting to be newer and newer as I go along. Definitely 1943s through here. It's nice that someone came along afterwards and marked these. There's a space right here. It makes me wonder if they have no idea who it is, or if it's down deep in here, right here. It's where the edger kind of comes in a little bit. 1934 still. But here's a cemetery sign, and I have completely skipped over this at this intersection. It's just a wooden sign that someone's fabricated, and established in 1933. So we were looking at the oldest burials when we started out. Sorry, loud Mustang. Like I said, it's a busy intersection. Central State Hospital, Rock Creek Road Cemetery, established in 1933. And if you go 1 mile that way, then you hit the Independent Order of the Oddfellows Cemetery that we've been visiting a couple episodes ago. So yeah, these are 1933 through here, and we were on that row. Thought we'd walk through and just see if there's anything that stands out, if it indicates anything different. Some of them are date of death, George Ragland, 1934, and then others have a date of birth and a date of death. They do have water in this cemetery, I guess, because there is a pump. I'm just curious. I've got to see if it works. I don't think it does. So that well is dry. But they've also clearly planted these cedar trees all in a row. And that is interesting as well. So these were all patients. Now here's an older marker that has not been replaced. And it could be because they can't read the name. It's not legible at all. So that is different. That's the first old marker that I've seen. And that must have been how all of these were looking. And possibly Griffin Memorial came along with some funds, or a donor came along and decided to update the markers, which is nice, whoever did it. They're definitely getting swallowed up by the grass. I mean, there's a lot of rows from what I can see. There's another water spigot right here. So they were clearly taking care of the cemetery, watering it. But someone is coming by and visiting. There's a few that have flowers like that. So it's good to see that some are being remembered. These were certainly people as well, whether they were in a hospital, committed into a hospital at that time or not. There's somebody's family, and had to be people that cared for them as well, even if it was just the people in the hospital. You can see these are really getting swallowed up. I see a larger marker here. You know, maybe some of these are nurses and doctors. I don't know. So it says this is a World War I Army veteran. Walter Henry Kinney Long, beloved father and grandfather, June 7th, 1892 to June 12th, 1933. And then it just says father of Aaron Harold Jack Kinney, Roy Lee Long, James Lee Kinney Cox, Ruby Irene Long, and then another name down there at the bottom. And this looks to be some kind of gasket type thing on top of that. But yeah, this is kind of just the edge right here. There's another pumpkin I just noticed right over there. Trying to look for some markers that stand out or anything that's different or odd. And this is another large marker right here. And this obviously came along afterwards as well. You can see the old style marker here. It says Hallmark. That one is legible. Born April 30th. Gotta have help on that. Oh, this is not listed on the main marker there. So, born April 30th, 1951. Yeah, it is listed. William G. Okay, died January 4th, 1934. So that is William G. right here. And Martha Barnes Hallmark right here. It says that she was buried in Howard, Arkansas, and that he is buried in Norman, Oklahoma right here. Married in 1869. So I don't know if something happened and then they got placed into that hospital, or these are other people from the area that are residents out in the country or something at that time, or if they worked in the hospital somehow. But yeah, there's definitely several rows of these markers. Like I said, I thought we would just kind of walk down through here. There's some flowers over there, so we'll visit that one and see if it's any different. But from the sign that's listed there, as well as the viewer that said I should visit this one, it primarily has to be a hospital burial ground. And a lot of times you'll see these with those old cement markers like we've seen on a couple. And they're all worn out and forgotten, illegible. A lot of times they're buried under the ground. The cemetery that I just covered, the John Old Crow, there is a cemetery right around the corner from the Veterans Hospital. It's now a Veterans Hospital, but it was a sanatorium where they had tuberculosis patients. And I don't know, maybe 5-10 years ago, someone took on a project, I think it was a college student, and unearthed a lot of the markers, and they're basically just numbers. If I remember correctly, they're look how that one's getting swallowed up. But yeah, if I remember correctly, they're just like cement markers with metal plates that have the numbers on there, like as if they were nothing more than a number rather than a human being or a patient. But yeah, these are all flat-lying markers. 1934 is what I'm seeing on both sides. Susie Brown, 1890 to 1934. John Henry Sari, 1884 to 1934. Gosh, that might be all the rows right in between those trees. And if there were any here, I'm not seeing them, but there is that one that has flowers right there. One cedar tree has been cut. Oh, there are some markers, so there could be some in between that have been swallowed up. That's a newer one. Someone's done some research though, as far as trying to replace the old markers and figure out where they're located. They may have a cemetery record. Last name Gay. So that's the newest one we've seen so far. If you look at that one, John Gay, 1908 to 1971. George Kent, 1892 to 1969. So these are certainly newer. Here are two right beside this tree. I think it's maybe an elm tree. And 1965 on that one. You can see little depressions in the ground where the graves have kind of sunk down in there. So yeah, there's a few more rows right here. I don't know how far back it goes. This marker is different with the flowers. Those are clearly poinsettia, synthetic poinsettia flowers. So they were visited for Christmas time. Maybe last year because they're kind of faded. George L. Ray, November 2nd, 1898 to September 3rd, 1963. There is a number down on the bottom right that says 485. Harry Deeds, 1963. Here's another marker that's a little bit larger. Lucille Buck Farley, November 1st, 1904 to May 21st, 1963. Mother of Mary E. Wickham and John W. Farley. I went to school with a guy named Farley, last name. This one's different too. This is more like what you would expect for the time period, and this is the 60s. So that's how you can tell those others are newer. Father Landon Dollison, February 1911 to September 6, 1962. So yeah, there are some larger ones in here. Aunt Frances Matula, born in Austria, 1887, and died March 29th, 1958. In heaven, gone but not forgotten. So yeah, these are aunts and fathers and grandmothers. Like I said, I don't know if all of them were patients, but it sure makes you think that. So something kind of went wrong, or they dealt with it for years and then got admitted into the hospital for some reason. It's kind of interesting. Fairly large cemetery, and like I said, a lot of these could be covered up. So this is definitely one that I'd like to come back with the edger and just kind of make them to where they're a little bit more noticeable here. No fault of their own. I see a pumpkin right here, but this also caught my eye from the distance. And this has to be the older markers that were over there, and they've replaced them. That would be my guess. So look how many there are. They're actually on these old wood crates. Yeah, these had numbers on them. And yeah, there's some up underneath this grass. See that? They've been here for a long time. And they've even busted the crates right there. But number 32, Lotta, born 1845, died June 23rd, 1933. And even these for a hospital tell a little bit more than what a lot of others do. But they're kind of impersonal in a lot of ways, you know. I mean, there's not much to them. They're just a regular old block of cement that'll wear out. Birth unknown, died October 26, 1934 for C.C. Harold, number 134. That's how you see a lot of them. They'll just be numbers though, not even names. So yeah, I think someone's had a project where they replaced them with new ones of what they could read. And there's kind of a fence right here. Just wooden post with cable going through it. Let's see if there's anything else. I don't know what the pumpkins are. Maybe someone just lives by here and they dumped them, but that's mowed over there clearly. So maybe whoever owns that property, and I don't know how far back these graves go. Someone's thrown honey in here, it looks like. So that might be it for the cemetery. We'll walk down through here. If I see anything else, I'm going to shut the camera off, but if I see anything else, I'll show it. So this is a great big cedar tree, and there's some other kind of tree that's growing out of the top of it, and I just get curious because a lot of times cedar trees mark graves. And as I look down through here, check that out. That's another grave right there. That little piece of cement right there, whether it was a flat lying marker or some sort of upright marker, I don't know. But it's also some kind of big old rat's nest right there, because there's a den going in there. And usually rats kind of build up a bunch of limbs like that, but it could just be all this stuff falling. But regardless, I think that's probably marking a grave, unless someone just moved it there. And if so, look at these branches. You wouldn't have moved it anytime soon. So it's been there a long time. Probably longer than what a lot of those markers have even been there before, as far as these new ones on the ground there. But looks like there's a grave up underneath there. And let's look underneath this one just for the heck of it. Can't really see anything on this side. But let's look over here. Interesting track through here. It's like a wavy skid or something. Let's see if there's anything up underneath this. Well, I know it's hard for you guys to see, but there is not anything on this. So just that one, and that's all I see. Yeah, there's definitely not a marker under there. If so, it would be a flat lying one that a lot of the branches have covered up over time with the loss of the cedar parts, branches, whatever. So I walked the whole back of the cemetery, and that was it. There wasn't anything back in that area over there at all. This is pretty well the first row of everything coming from the back, other than the one that we saw underneath the cedar tree. You can see where this tree is long gone, probably an old elm or oak or something. Some of the bark has come off. But yeah, it goes up over the other side of those cedar trees on that far side there, and you can see several water spigots here to wells, and that's it. Interesting cemetery though, but we'll come back in here with the edger and clean some of this up. That's going to do it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and appreciate you watching, and we'll see you guys next time.